Hello, everybody. I'm Lori, and this is Chelsea. Today is June 28th. The year is 2022, and it's 8 o'clock at night.
We sound like a
We-
Twilight Zone episode.
Um, I know I gotta get, I'll be myself in a second. Let me just
Okay.
clear
Do you
out
know where your children are? It's six.
they have 2 hours to be missing still. It's only 8
Oh, that's right.
o'clock. It's
Hold
8
on.
o'clock, right? Thank you for joining or watching the recording of this webinar that we're doing. The webinar is for anybody who is curious about being a sign language interpreter, what we do, how to do it. Well, not how to do it, but how to go about having getting into this field. It can be very confusing, and so we're going to talk about that in a moment and some other great things. So thanks so much for joining us. I hope to answer some questions. I hope that you learn what a lovely and wonderful, fulfilling career this is. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in our email or contact us on the website, and we will be happy to answer you. So,
And what's our website, Lori?
thesciencepace.net. Yes. So before we go into kind of like the boring kind of like ground, like
Logistics,
logistics,
nitty-gritty.
right, of how we do things. Let's quickly introduce, who we are.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you want to go first?
So they can trust us that we know what we're talking
Right.
about. Sure. My name is Chelsea Kahili. I am a certified interpreter. I live in New Jersey. I've been in the interpreting field for about 10 years. Um, and yeah, I work full time as an interpreter and I love what I do every single day. Lori, how about you?
I don't know if I love it every single day, but mostly yes. Mostly I love it. I'm Lori Savello. I currently live in the Atlanta, Georgia area by way of New York and New Jersey. I have been a certified interpreter for almost 10 years. Yeah.
Something like, yeah.
Yeah. And freelance interpreting, all of the wonderful things and all the wonderful settings that we talked about today. I, as well as Chelsea, am an adjunct instructor. I worked at Montclair State, New Jersey when I was living in New Jersey, also Union County College in New Jersey. I started working at Fredericks Community College online during COVID, and I'm still an online instructor there, which is wonderful. I love it. And I'm also currently at Georgia State University. Chelsea and I have been working together for many years, hosting study groups, mentor sessions, and so we just wanted to get this out there for anybody who, again, might be interested in a career in interpreting and wanting to know how to do it.
We recognize that there's really nothing out there that is like, if you want to be an interpreter, you need to do this. So we're hoping that tonight we can kind of shed a little bit of light on what can be somewhat of a confusing and hard to navigate career path, I guess you could say, way to become an interpreter. So you want to be an interpreter. How do you do that? So we're hoping to answer those questions tonight.
Let's jump and like talk about that for a second, because we said that before we got this webinar kind of together, our intentions, because I grew up with deaf parents. I grew up knowing that at some point in my life I was going to grow up and be an interpreter, and when I would get ready for it, I had no idea what to do. Like, truly, I mean, I'd met interpreters, but they weren't always forthcoming. They'd be like, "Oh, you'll make a great interpreter," and then they'd give me their business card, and it was weird. Right? I didn't know like how to get my foot in the door. I didn't know what I needed to do. I knew I had to go to college, but I didn't know what college. It was very, very confusing. And so, having grown up with deaf parents and needing the services of interpreting my whole life, I was still very confused about how to get into this profession. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. And
Yeah.
you had a similar experience, correct?
For sure. So I remember being about 16 years old and coming home to my dad one day, and I was so excited because that was the day that I decided I wanted to be an interpreter. And I came home and I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, I just decided. I think I know what I want to go to college for. I want to be a sign language interpreter. And he said, what's that? And I said, kind of explained, when there's a deaf person and a person who can hear and they need someone to assist in their communications, the person. And then I finally had to say, the guy standing up next to the president who's like waving his hands, that person, because that's the image that people have. And my dad said, I remember distinctly that my dad said, I have never heard of that profession. I have never met anyone in that profession. And that sounds like a nice hobby, but maybe you should go to school for like teaching or something. And I was crushed. And now, whenever I see him at Thanksgiving, I always get to throw in his face that I am an interpreter and that I actually have a job and that this is a legit profession that I love. So there, Dad, take that if you're watching, which you're totally not, but that
Probably
was cathartic.
Yeah. I want to ask you then, how did you get into this? I mean, for me, it seemed very obvious, but how about you? How did you get into this?
Yeah. So I learned like finger spelling, ABCs, things like my name when I was really young from, I don't know, I can't even remember where, but that was pretty much the extent. And then when I was about 13, I met a deaf friend, and he was so patient with me in teaching me the language. And I just really, it was an amazing thing being able to have a connection with this person through language, where all they were doing with everyone else around us was writing back and forth with a notepad. And I was like, wow, I have like the key to be able to communicate with this person. And it's simply just like learning their language. Like, first of all, what a privilege that this person took the time to invest in me. And I'm forever grateful to them for that. And just, I think that I am, I really enjoy working with people. That's my personality. And just as an interpreter, seeing connections between people that they wouldn't otherwise be able to make connection because due to not speaking using the same language, and just being able to be a part of that, man, that gets me out of bed every day. It's really, I mean, I'm not saying this job isn't tough. It can be extremely tough, but I have to say that the reward is way more than any of the negatives, I guess. So yeah.
It's fun.
It is. It's really fun, and it's a mental challenge, and it's just, oh gosh, I love it.
We can do some hoping to end with some pros and cons. So definitely wait for that. What about now, 10 years, almost 15 years in, why do you do this?
You had to say that. Now I feel old. Why do I do it? Wow, that's a great question. Um, I think that there are a lot of professions where you can just kind of fall into the trap of uh, just rote doing what you do every single day and kind of going through the motions. And you can't do that in this profession. You can't phone it in, because you're dealing with, not to be dramatic, but you're dealing with people's lives. You're interpreting for a doctor's appointment. That could be life or death. You mess something up, and I don't mean that to scare anybody, but it's just the reality of the job. You're interpreting for, we're going to talk about that later, but I think that why I keep coming back to this and why I haven't stopped loving it is just, as I mentioned before, I love being able to be a part of people making connections, but I also just love the challenge that it presents to me. It's so mentally stimulating, sounds so clinical, and I don't think that that's the right terminology, but I'm not sure what the right terminology is for it. It's just something that I don't know how to explain it.
I
Maybe
think,
you could put words to it if you understand what I'm trying to say.
right. I don't know if it's like an ADD thing, but I feel like for me, like when I was like 16, I got a job at a restaurant and I was like hostess, and I would look at the waiters and I was like, no, I want to be a waitress. And I had to be a waitress. And then I would look at the bartenders and I'm like, nope, I need to be a bartender. And I'd be the bartender. And then I'd be bored and I'd be like, I need to be the bar manager. And then I'd be the bar manager and I'd be like, nope, I see the kitchen manager. I want to be the kitchen manager, right? And so I would constantly get bored and like want to like work my way up. And I feel like that never happens in interpreting. Like it's constantly stimulating and rewarding, and there's no like, like I'm not.
You don't get bored, that's for sure.
You don't get bored. You don't do the same thing every day, like you said. You're constantly in different environments, and you just kind of get to like kind of lightly experience them and not have to like fall into the machine of what certain systems are.
For sure. And I also think that when you because it's not like math, right, where it's like there's a right answer or a wrong answer, or there's a certain way to do it. There's any number of ways that you can approach an interpretation, and when the interpretation is successful and successfully communicates the speaker's intent and emotion, etc., and to see that like, this is going to sound big-headed, but like, wow, like I was able to do that. That's just like, wow, that's so fulfilling. How cool is that? I think that, and then of course, again, the result of that is that these people see each other for who they are and are able to hopefully accomplish their goals. And it's not always connection, right? Like sometimes it's like to tell them to go kick rocks or something, but that's yeah, it's different every day for sure.
Right. I think people would intuitively think we're like wordsmiths, like a writer, but really we're kind of connection bakers in the way that like a baker is creating something that needs to be consumed right away.
And there's chemistry involved.
Right. And there's like a lack of ownership, right? Like you don't own that cake. That cake is not yours.
Right.
So we're like connection bakers.
I like that. Can we copyright that?
It's copyrighted now. Yes.
Copyrighted.
Too bad our website already has a name.
Oh, connection bakers. No one would ever be able to find us on Google.
Right. Okay, so that's enough about us. Let's make it now about you out there.
In Zoom land.
Some things you might want to consider if you want
access. And it's
all right. So that's it for now. I hope we answered your questions. We did get a lot in there.
We did.
We did. We're good. We're almost at 2 hours, so we're good. So we got it all in there. If there's something we missed or something you want to hear more about, please.
Want to know some resources, some books to read, where to start?
Yes, I was going to mention that book. It's okay. Let's move forward. Please reach out to us. We always got a book for that. So whatever you might need, or any questions you might have, or something that we didn't talk about, or if there's some other kind of workshop actually that you find would be beneficial for you, please connect with us, give us your feedback, and we are here to support you in your journey here, and hope that
we'll see you in the field someday.
Yeah, hope that we showcased our love for what we do, and we've convinced you to join us in this wonderful profession. And yeah, that's it. So thank you.
TheScienceSpace.net. If you need any resources, just reach out to us. We're here. I wouldn't say 24/7,